The 33rd day of Russia's large-scale war against Ukraine. The occupiers do not stop shelling the Luhansk region. In Severodonetsk, a shell hit a block of flats, it collapsed and caught fire. People are trapped, and rescuers are working. In another area of the city, a house has been also destroyed. One woman was injured. Rescuers are looking for a child. In another building, which was also destroyed, 4 people have been rescued from the rubble. In one of the high-rises, the enemy has aimed at the roof. Several floors have collapsed in the house next door, and at least 2 wounded are trapped under the rubble. Houses, garages, and outbuildings are on fire in Lysychansk. There is no information about victims. In Rubizhne, a man has received shrapnel injuries as a result of the shelling. There may be more victims. Rescue works continue. On March the 28th, Russian invaders fired missiles at the town of Lubotin, Kharkiv region. While extinguishing the fire in one of the houses, rescuers took the man's body out from under the rubble. 2 people were rescued and taken to hospital. In Kharkiv, the Russian occupiers use forbidden cluster munition and continue to destroy the city. At least 180 shellings with weapons prohibited by international agreements have been recorded. According to the local authorities, the invaders have already destroyed 1,178 residential units. Historic buildings and monuments are also being damaged. People who stay in the city try to protect what is possible. Thus, the monument to Taras Shevchenko is completely covered with sandbags to somehow protect it from destruction by the invaders. Ukrainian troops liberated Irpin, a city in the north of Kyiv, from the Russian occupiers. The mayor Alexander Markushin reported about it.
Зараз проходить зачистка. Хочу подякувати військовослужбовцям Збройних сил України, подякувати територіальній обороні, подякувати Національній поліції та спецпідрозділам поліції, головному розвідуправлінню хочу подякувати. Хлопці, коли ми разом, ми сила.
Meanwhile, the citizens are asked not to return to the city. It is too dangerous. The mayor said that it was time to liberate the nearest settlements to the town, Bucha, Vorzel, and Gostomel. However, he did not exclude new attacks on Irpin. Before the war, the city was one of the fastest growing in Ukraine and even got into the National Register of Records of Ukraine for the largest number of reconstructed and built in 2 years parks and squares. However, the occupiers brutally and cynically destroyed most of the modern civilian infrastructure. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky called on Ukrainians to keep their heads cool despite the success of the armed forces in Kyiv region.
Проте все ж зарано говорити про безпеку в цій частині нашої області. Бойові дії тривають. Російські війська утримують під своїм контролем північ Київщини, мають ресурси і живу силу, намагаються відновлювати розбиті підрозділи. Рівень їхніх втрат навіть у 90% не є для них аргументом, щоб зупинятися.
Liberated from the occupiers, Trostyanets, Sumy region returns to normal life. Essential and vital medicine has been brought to the locals. Humanitarian kits with food, hygiene items, baby food and diapers are also formed in advance. Rescuers and public utilities are currently working to restore life in the city as soon as possible. Many facilities in the city, including the hospital, remain mined. Residents of Trostyanets are urged to be as careful as possible and report suspicious items to the military. During a search of the city, the military has found the body of a man with multiple injuries in the garage of one of the houses. He was tortured by the Russian occupiers. The person is being identified. In Energodar, invaded by the occupiers near Zaporizhzhia, civilians continue to protest against the Russian invaders. The day before, they gathered in the city center and sang the national anthem of Ukraine. People are also demanding that the occupiers release the first deputy mayor Ivan Samoyduk, reminding that the largest nuclear power plant in Europe operates in Energodar. At the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the invaders fired on the energy facility and seized it. Nearly 5,000 civilians are estimated to have died in Mariupol, Donetsk region. Such data have been announced by the city authorities. However, the exact number of victims is currently unknown, as the city has been under the siege by the Russian occupiers for almost a month. About 150,000 people have been evacuated, but there is still about 160,000 civilians in the city without light, heat, water, medicine, and food. The occupiers continue to cynically and brutally destroy the Ukrainian city.
Тактика ворога формується з того, що виїжджають танки та знищують будівлі, незалежно знаходяться там війська наші чи ні, а повністю знищують будівлі з верхнього поверху до першого, а потім закидують як м'ясом своєю піхотою позиції. Авіація та артилерія противника працює майже завжди в глибину по жилим кварталам без будь-яких логічних пояснень їх дій.
The city needs immediate unblocking and complete evacuation of the civilians. Mariupol has been completely surrounded since March the 1st.
Where can you find a safe place if your city is under siege? Is it an usual residential building? No. In hospitals or schools?
Третья больница, Мариуполь. Роддом.
No. In a theater, the heart of your city. Far away from any military objects. Yes, that's a good idea. Is there any other way we could warn Russian pilots about kids hiding in the theater? Yes, capital letters, in Russian. That way we will definitely be safe. But only if murdering our children isn't their goal.